Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is the Voices of Healing podcast. I'm your host, Tina Clark. I'm a shamanic Reiki master teacher as well. So check out my offerings on tinakinneyclark.com. Today's guest is Sara Thornhill, and she is a personal power coach. She has many, many certifications and credentials, just like I do, because we never stop learning. Some of the things that she specializes in is alleviating stress and anxiety, heartbreak. She's also a yoga teacher. And also a meditation expert as well. So welcome to the show, Sara.
Thank you so much for having me.
So before we even hopped onto this recording, we started talking about the mystery of the body and what it's trying to tell you. But, so many of the things that you're trained in are really important practices now. And a lot of people repeat that it's important to meditate. And you were mentioning before that before we went on air is that more people want to focus on the results, not necessarily meditation. So what kind of symptoms does meditation alleviate?
Oh my goodness. Stress, anxiety, depression, indecisiveness, all these things that we seem to not be able to get a finger on. They say that the answers are within. And I say stop the downward spiral and learn to spin within, because there's only two things that you can control: your thoughts and your actions. And even the thoughts are not something we can directly control. So when we have anxiety, overwhelm, depression, a lot of that is having to do with invasive thoughts, repeating thoughts, negative thoughts. And we can affect those eventually, but those thoughts are a lot of times automatic, and they're bubbling up from the subconscious into the conscious mind. And awareness is always the key. So if we can apply a lot of awareness to our body, to our brain, to our breath, then we can begin to actually do that daily work. Yeah.
So where do we begin? Where does someone begin? Do they begin with the body? Do they begin with their thoughts? Do we do it at the same time?
I think the most important place to begin is to recognize that there is no right way to meditate. As long as you are relatively still with your eyes closed, we do recommend sitting up, especially in the beginning, because if we lay down, especially in the bed, we'll tend to fall into more of a sleepy state. But I think that so many people are afraid of or reticent to participate in meditation or even if they try it for a little while, they have this concept that there's something that's supposed to happen and you're supposed to levitate or you're supposed to feel a certain way. And many people discover that whenever we stop, the thoughts don't. And they think that they're supposed to stop the thoughts, and you really don't have to. There are some meditation traditions that do teach you to actively push away the thoughts or let the thoughts go. But there are thousands that don't require that. In fact, you can just use a light focus like your body or your breath or a mantra or some image, and kind of focus on that and let the thoughts continue. And that's when I found the most success, is when I recognized that, oh my gosh, I don't actually, a lot of mindfulness practices are about being super present and not allowing these thoughts to come through. And I think that's really prohibitive for a lot of people. They think that it's supposed to be a certain way. And there's so many different ways to meditate. It doesn't have to be guided. It doesn't have to, you don't have to sit cross-legged, So it's just getting over all those preconceived notions that we have available to us thanks to culture. into modern life for some reason. But yeah, just giving up this expectation, because it's really not about what happens during the meditation. It's about what it does for you. It's not about the salad that you eat. It's about the waistline, right?
Mhm.
I mean, sure, the salad can be delicious, but for somebody who's used to eating cheeseburgers and pizza, then maybe the salad isn't that enjoyable. However, it's about the result. It's about allowing the nervous system to calm down, to rest. We're not machines. And even our machines need to be shut down, restarted.
Mhm. Sometimes the answer is just to turn it off and turn it back on.
It's that hard reset, right?
Yeah.
But this can be a soft reset, right? Just a period of rest. If we're running an engine of any kind, whether that's like a computer or an actual car, nonstop, it's going to need times to refuel. So that's what these periods of meditation do for us. We're not designed to live this fast.
Right. Or have this much information or make this many decisions every day.
Right.
Yeah, I saw something recently that in the past, before the age of computers, where we're only making a couple of thousand decisions a day, and now we're up into like 35,000 decisions a day.
Wow.
No wonder people are feeling overwhelmed.
Yes.
So I
That's
think
staggering.
one of the misconceptions of meditation, and I've been practicing meditation and mindfulness for 15 years now, is that you will have no thoughts.
Mhm.
And that is not true. The thoughts still come in.
Mhm.
But when you're in that state, you're aware of your thoughts
Mhm.
and you're noticing the thoughts. And then if there's something that comes in, and you're, focusing, doing the soft focus, you could say, oh, interesting. I'm going to put that to the side. I'm not going to focus on that right now. And sometimes there's interesting information that comes in from your environment when you're meditating too,
Mhm.
right? So, like, I consider the practice of Reiki a meditation, because if I'm giving Reiki to myself or others, I have to clear my mind. I have to focus on what I'm doing and what I'm feeling and what I'm getting, if there's any information from the person. So, and sometimes I'm in my Reiki room, and this happens a lot. And I have a client and the garbage truck comes through. And that always makes me laugh, because it makes me think, oh, we're getting
Clearing
rid
it
of.
out. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, what an obvious, this is so obvious,
Yeah.
you're
Mhm.
clearing it out. We're getting rid of the stuff that's no longer serving this person,
Mm.
or, even if I hear a certain bird or a dog bark, I stop and pause and think, what am I doing right now? What thought just popped in my head? What did the
Mhm.
person just say to me? And try to make the connections.
Absolutely. It's that awareness that gives us so much information. And you're so right to be paying attention to what's happening at that moment. Most of our lives, we live through the subconscious mind, which was primarily formed during childhood. So we wonder why, we say, oh gosh, he was acting like a child. He was acting like a toddler. Well, his brain was seeped in disempowering stories that started during childhood, when we didn't even have a prefrontal cortex to understand what was going on. And then we formed beliefs. But a really simple way to look at this is just, am I focused more in the past or the future? When I get quiet, where does my brain go? Does it go to the past or the future? Does it go to my family? Does it go to work? Because science shows that every single thing that we do, every thought that we have, is us trying to survive. We're trying to get our needs met. We're needs meeting machines. We are constantly trying to get our needs met. And so if that's focusing on the past or the future instead of the now, we think that that's meeting our needs, but it's actually in the now when we can access our body fully. We can only breathe in the now. And so it takes that level of consciousness, awareness, to be able to begin to tap into our true essence, our true nature. We can only access that in the now through the body, with the breath, with that presence that you are invoking in your life. So that's really beautiful that you're really conscious of what's going on whenever certain things happen.
Yeah, because I really believe that's the way the universe works. So, it's always constantly communicating with you, trying to give you what you want. And that's why it's important to focus on what you want and not what you don't want.
Yeah, the
Because
reticular activating system.
yeah, and so if you're focusing on what you don't want and talking about what you don't want and thinking about what you don't want out of fear, universe hears that and says, "Oh, this is what this person wants. We don't want to do that."
Yep. Very true. Yeah, the reticular activating system is going to look for whatever you tell it to look for. It's very unbiased in that way, in a present sense way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very biased whenever something comes up that we have a strong connection to, some sort of an emotional attachment or emotional wound.
Yeah. So, can you give us, the listeners, may have various experiences with meditation or mindfulness. Can you give us some inspirational stories on what have you seen? What have people been able to overcome with a meditative practice?
So many of my clients, whether they're long-term meditators or have just started, report to me that their lives change. I had a client the other day saying, working with you is life-changing, because a lot of people don't even recognize how stressed they are until they start taking time for themselves. And then they start recognizing that they can observe their thoughts. And because of that observation, they recognize that they can actually observe other aspects of their lives as well. And instead of engaging in that common reaction that they're so accustomed to, they've got that separation, that little pause in between the trigger and how we choose to respond to it. Or sometimes we just go straight into reaction, right? And so, yes, my clients report a reduction in anxiety. They are able to sleep better. I have specific sleep trainings as well as breath work that's specifically for anxiety. And a lot of I call them pocket-sized tools that you don't need a pocket for, are really helpful for those in the moment triggers, those in the moment needs that we have. Like, I need to change something in my environment. Well, when they can actually realize, okay, all I can control is me. I'm going to continue to control me and stop trying to control other people and things. Because, I mean, that's obvious. People say all the time, yeah, there's two things you can control. We know that. And people try to control other people constantly. They try to control situations and other people constantly.
Yeah, it's really about managing our reactions to things.
Mm-hmm.
And, doing your best. I mean, I know there are people out there that like to trigger others. Good luck with that. Eventually, you're going to pay the price for that,
Mm.
but say a normal person who's not abusive, you know, and it's really like focusing on how do I react to this? Do I need to react to this? And if I'm triggered by this, what is the unmet need?
Exactly.
So asking a lot of questions, and that's going to increase your awareness. So yeah, I mean, but we sound like a broken record, y'all, about meditation, but it really is amazing. And would you say, Sarah, that when you're focusing on the past a lot, it can make you depressed? And if you're focused on the future or a fear of the future, that creates anxiety?
Yes and no. I think that's a really simplified version. In my private programs, whether that be one-on-one or group, we help people identify, because a lot of people talk about anxiety or stress and they don't really know what the core emotion is. And so I've seen that comparison, that fear of the future is anxiety, and worrying about the past is, sadness or depression. And I have some different opinions. When we talk about stress, that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Physical stress, 100 years ago, what they called stress was literally just like strenuous activity on the body, because we didn't have the modern influences that cause prolonged stress. Some people, like myself, I thought I just suffered from stress, and I didn't know that it was full-blown anxiety for years until I actually had a panic attack. Well, anxiety, that word, can mean so many different things. It's a diagnosis. People say, I have anxiety. They talk about my anxiety. We own it, right? Well, sometimes anxiety can be fear. Sometimes it can be sadness. Sometimes it can be anger. And sometimes it can be some sort of a combination. Like, for example, guilt is a combination of all three: anger, sadness, and fear. It just depends on the percentages that you're talking about. And so within my private programs, we provide our clients with a map that they can be able to identify, what does anxiety mean to me, and where am I actually experiencing this in my life as well as in my body? Because we need to understand the entire picture. We can have this feeling of anxiety, this sensation, and not recognize it immediately. We have a sensation, and our mind is actually bypassing the sensation and assigning not a specific emotion, but a general emotion, like, this is anxiety. But if we can get more granular and say, like, it's a knot in my stomach, it's a pounding in my chest, it's a pulling in my neck, and then actually track it and map it and figure out, where do I feel fear in my body? Who are the people and situations that enact this fear? And then get more granular and actually figure out, what is the root cause of this sensation and this granular emotion that I'm just labeling, oh, that's anxiety. Because otherwise, we don't have any solutions. It's like, if, for example, I saw somebody speak last night. I saw several people speak in a pitch competition, and 5 speakers, and of course a wide range of people who had amazing business ideas, and others who maybe had good ideas but didn't really know how to present themselves. And so, yes, I'm a speaker, and I can pick out some things very easily that he could work on. But until somebody sits down with him and actually talks about like the way he's holding the microphone, the placement of where he's looking, the posture, the intonation, the inflection, the place where he's speaking from. Getting that kind of granularity is actually, and then practicing obviously, is going to help him to become a better presenter. Well, we're not all presenters. Some people don't need to present at all. But when we take time to actually examine what's going on in the body and then make a plan to actually track it and figure out what are the times of day? What are the triggers? Am I drinking too much coffee? Is it after the third cup of coffee? Is it around my mother-in-law? Is it when I am feeling the need to go pick up my kids from school and I have not gotten enough done? Is it when I go to pull out my bank card at the grocery store, right? So we can actually figure out, where am I feeling this in my body? What does it actually feel like? What is it connected to? And what is the real base emotion? Is it anger, sadness, or fear? Of course, there's a lot of other emotions. We know that Brene Brown in her book talked about 87 different emotions, but they all relate back to anger, sadness, or fear. Of course, there's joy, there's surprise, there's desire, but typically these negative emotions are anger, sadness, or fear.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point too, that with the speaker, when you're speaking, you don't realize your movement or your words as much, and it's important to have someone else there to point that out to you. And I think that's a good way of saying, if you can't figure it out yourself, get help.
Well, you can't read the label from the inside of the pickle jar, right? Coaches need coaches, somebody who can actually help them to look at what is going on in their own lives, right? Because we can very easily have a limited set of data from a client, but sometimes we need that outside person. For me, my wife is an amazing coach, and she helps me to be able to process things and be able to see things that maybe I'm too close to.
Yeah, for sure. So do you have any projects, books, anything you're working on right now, Sara?
I am working on a new book. I am kind of stalled on it right now. I got a pretty solid draft going, and then life happened and my business has just exploded with new clients, and I'm running groups, and it's been an amazing blessing. And the book has taken a little bit of a back seat for now. And sometimes, well, we know that it's all a blessing, but sometimes it's nice to come at it with fresh eyes, whether it's a course I'm putting out or a book or any kind of a project like that. I teach desk yoga at the time. At this moment, as we record, I do teach desk yoga online, and I'm starting to put them on my very new YouTube channel. And that has a local following as well as a national following. There are people that tune in during their lunch hour to be able to get into the neck and back and shoulders. And I am doing breathwork for anxiety class periodically. I've got a new course called Exhale the Overwhelm. And I sleep sometimes too. So
I hope so.
yeah.
So can you tell us the topic of your book that you're working on?
Oh, it's all about releasing anxiety and tips and tricks, quick tips and tricks in order to stop the downward spiral and learn to spin within. This is the way to figure out that we are the medicine, that we have everything that we need inside of us. Sometimes we just need somebody to point and show us where to look.
Yes, for sure.
How about you? What are you working on, Tina?
I'm working on creating a group program as well. So it's all very new to me. So I'm trying to learn about that and learn about what I would teach and guide in. And so it's been fun. And I've been basically stopped in my tracks because I broke my foot about a week ago.
I broke my foot about 6 months ago.
Yeah, so
Which
um,
foot did you break?
left just a not a big one, but enough to wear a boot for 6 weeks, which is a new experience for me because I've never sprained or fractured anything.
So no crutches, just a boot.
Yeah,
Oh, that's nice. I was
I
on
know.
crutches for a long time.
Yeah, I've resisted the boot too, but then I realized don't be silly, you want to heal the foot right. You don't want to extend this healing, longer than it needs to. So I haven't been leaving my house that much, but I'm focusing on, creating the program and learning new things, which, both of us are always learning.
Are you open to some questioning or some
Sure.
um,
Hmm.
so then if you're open to looking a little bit closer at this, I'm sure you've heard that the left side of the body is associated with the feminine side, the mother. Sounds like your body and your spirit have given you this beautiful chance to give birth to this program and slowed you down so you can sit down and nurture this program in a really motherly way because you're giving birth to something brand new. And there's probably something to release too. I'm sure you know that.
Hmm.
So I wonder if there might be some symbolism. Have you looked up the symbolism of the location in the foot?
I know that it's connected to the root chakra. I know what the
Of
root
course.
chakra represents.
But like the
Um,
reflexology, like each part of the
oh.
foot is reflexology and acupuncture. They have slightly different information. You might be able to pinpoint something. And then, if you were my client, I would suggest, of course, I can't make anybody do anything, but I would assign them to sit and start asking the body, what are you trying to show me here? What do I need to release here? And actually go into that place, put your consciousness in that place in the foot and just allow the memories to bubble up. You might discover that you're 16 years old or 5 years old. And you don't need to relive anything painful, but this is the work that I've been doing myself
Hmm.
with my own. Mine was a triple break, so I was on crutches with the boot, and yeah, it's been quite the journey to release this. And I discovered that I had some forgiveness work to do, some resentment that I really wasn't even conscious of, that I didn't even want to admit that I was resentful towards certain people. And yeah, it's like if you put a crying baby in the closet, it's not going to make things better. It's only going to make things worse, right?
Hmm.
Until we actually like comfort and listen. And so it's interesting because mine was the left as well. And it's an ankle that I've rolled over on many times and have
Hmm.
never really had the tools to do the work. And now I have.
Yep. I mean, it's definitely slowed me down. So I feel like spirit is saying, slow down,
Hmm?
go within and figure out what you want to do.
Beautiful.
So
Yeah.
where can people find you, Sarah? Can you share your website? And
Sure. Yeah. SaraThornhill.com. SaraThornhill.com. And we are on Instagram and YouTube as Prana Tova. That's the name of my company. That's Prana, Prana, Tova, Tova.
All right. Well, thank you, Sarah, for sharing your experience and wisdom with us today. And
Thank you.
I encourage everyone to find that meditation practice, find that mindfulness practice. There's so many options out there. Try them and practice the ones that feel good to you and feel natural to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thanks.